I'm
Rawr.
angry about cats.
When did we all get this dumb? Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about cats.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef. Come on, man. Use your brain. The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now. Oh, man, we're here. Man, we just fought a bunch of issues with the new Facebook standards. Facebook business now wants you to two-time verification because the first time you're probably not yourself. So sorry about that. This is the chef here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. This is the Why I'm Angry podcast, and it starts now, obviously, because we're just started and it just said that. But it's just me. I know. If you came looking for the other better looking ones, just tune out now. Um, if you enjoy the chef, then stick around and we'll have some fun. I do have the comments up, so if you do get live, if you listen to the podcast and you don't actually see us live, we go live on Thursday nights at 8:00. Sometimes it's 8:09. Sometimes it's earlier than that. It's right around 8:00 normally. And so we do go live at 8:09. It is live 98% of the time, I'd say. I do a couple specials with Moggs and some other characters that we work with that we throw in from time to time when we're feeling gray, blue, or just don't want to be here. And so we we get on and we just we throw you a bone, and so we normally still go live with those. And then Friday mornings at 5:30 we release a added version. The added version basically just has 2 or 3 ads at certain increments in the podcast. Not to worry, we try not to give you too much, but we do need to pay for this thing. If you want a non-added version right now, you can go to whyimangry.com, subscribe, use a promo code, which I have here for you. Use a promo code called New Year Patriot. You get 75% off. 75% off of $5 is like $1.25. And it's a lifetime subscription for $1.25 a month. You can we'll shoot you a monthly newsletter, and then also you'll get the podcast ad free. If you and then we we'll shoot you a couple sales and things like that on our merch and stuff. So just keeps you wearing our merch and helping support us and just hearing some good free thinking headlines and news, and just keeps you rolling on your week, on your day. Whichever it is. Some people it takes a week or so to get through our podcast. Sometimes it's a little longer. And if you don't like it longer, then we apologize for that. But, sometimes it takes a little more time to get the news out. And we're not going to apologize for the content that we bring. I mean, other than we do apologize for offending certain groups of people that may or may not listen to our podcast now or ever, or may have listened to it one time and got offended and walked away. If we offended and you left, then you're not listening, and I'm sorry. But to all of you listening, I'm not going to apologize because we say we speak our minds, and this is our opinions, and I think that's what you came here for. So get on the whyimangry.com. If you want to see a little more of what we do write a blog. It's our podcast basically with all the articles that we go through on a nightly or a weekly basis. And so you can follow along. If you get on Apple Podcasts, Apple Podcasts is starting to do transcripts of the podcast, so you can actually read the podcast if you wanted to. I'm not sure that that's going to be a really just exciting read, but maybe we're more exciting when you read what we say instead of what you listening to what we say. So, I don't know. But yeah, if you get on the whyimangry.com and you want the extra stuff right now with the 75% discount that works with that also, um, you can get a lifetime subscription at our some of our angriest podcast patriots, and for about $2.50. So that gets you rolling. And get you going. So that's if you want to keep those things going, keep us rolling on the podcast. Maybe even help me get some new guys on the podcast that can get on more often and stuff like that. We're always looking for talent, and we got that too. So if you get on tonight, if you're listening out there in the interwebs, or you want to get on sometime, 8 o'clock on Thursday nights, and we're on Rumble, we're on X, we're on Facebook, all kinds of different sites and everything, YouTube, all the big fun sites, and for most of them, I can see your comments coming in. We're on Twitch. I don't have the Rumble comments come in, but we'll be working on that real shortly. So onward and upward. All right, let's get into the headlines here. There was a couple of them. There's an Alzheimer's drug being dropped. It is Kanamab will be discontinued. Basically, it's from the biotechnology firm Biogen. They said that they're getting their approval pulled. So, and then it will also be, further development on it is also being halted. The drug's approval in 2021 drew scrutiny over claims there was little evidence it improved outcomes of patients. Marketed as Aduhelm. I'm not a doctor, obviously. But Aduhelm, the treatment focused on attacking misfolded amyloid proteins, tangled structures in the brain linked to neurodegeneration, and which have been implicated in the progression of the disease. Clinical trials showed mixed results right off the bat, with one set finding cognitive decline was delayed by 20% over 18 months at high doses, while a second set showed that there was no significant improvements. This is what I've been telling you guys for a while, years even if you've listened from the beginning, is that any kind of medical data can be skewed. So the approval came despite 40% of the high dose patients experiencing some degree of brain swelling, which I don't know if you know this, but that's not good. With 6% leaving the study due to side effects. Separately, a federal panel of outside experts urged the FDA to reject the drug. A congressional probe ultimately concluded federal officials inappropriately fast-tracked the drug. 3 officials resigned as a result of the process. So basically, Alzheimer's is terrible. You know, my grandma just actually died this year of Alzheimer's, and it it literally takes people who were seemingly healthy and just shuts them down. You know, my grandma was 90 some years old or 80 some years old or 80 late 80s when she was diagnosed with it, and she was in like super good health. They said her heart was the heart of a 50-year-old, and that she was, you know, just and we thought for a little while that she was just, you know, she just was kind of in a depression with my grandpa dying and stuff like that a few years before, and then found that, you know, it was early stages of dementia, and then that she was, you know, that over the last couple years, they diagnosed her with Alzheimer's, and you know, it just at the very end. I mean, there were days, like my mom would say, there were days that she could go in and she would know her name, and there were days that she would go in and there were, you know, that she would not, um she wouldn't know who she, you know, who was around or where she was, or, you know, she would have issues with differentiating my mom from her sister, and things like that. Just, I mean, you've heard the stories, and we've all kind of laughed about people who have been kind of in this dementia style, um you know, just this, you know, not knowing what's going on, and the stories of them asking or telling. You know, my grandma told us about a lady who had been stealing from the food area, and how she had been, like, you know, just, you know, how she was, you know, sleeping around and all, you know, and like, and just this imagination of a story. And you know, we just, you know, we all kind of, you know, laughed about the story, but at the same time, you know, wondering, you know, where that story came from, and you know, but just not knowing exactly, you know, what's going on in her brain. And so, you know, I can see where, you know, you want to find the cure, and you want to find the the things that, you know, you want people to be better of this, because like I said, this is, you know, this is a pretty terrible thing. And so having, you know, having that, you know, we want to get those things as quick as possible to people, and if they can help them, then we, you know, then we've helped some people with it. But um I mean, there are a few drugs coming out over the next couple years that I've been watching, and you know, we there are some promising developments. Now, this isn't one of them. Um, this is one of those ones that they kind of took whatever they, you know, whatever they wanted to see in the findings, and they turned it into positive findings. Um, so, but yeah, so that is just one of those kind of disappointing. that obviously there is no cure, um, and it's a kind of an end of life, disease. So if there were a cure, hopefully that cure wouldn't take a long time to cure it, or it would be able to be caught early, so that maybe you only saw the first stages of dementia, and that would be able to you'd be able to cure that and live 5 or 6 more years without the debilitating um portion of the disease and the loss of memory and stuff like that. So I mean, luckily for the person who has it, and this is a very, very fine silver lining, is that after some time, they're not there really. They're just mentally, they're just going through the motions, and physically, their body is deteriorating at a high rate, and luckily they're mentally not knowing what's going on. So, but for the rest of us, the guy that have to see that, it is something. So, Ukrainian president is quarreling with his general, his high ranking top general, Valery Zaluzny, after the general refused the president's request on Monday to step down voluntarily. He reportedly sought to have him dismissed. By yesterday evening, Zelensky had pulled back on the request after potential successors were said to have refused the job. So this is one of those where, like, you know, there are better, more qualified people out there, but they realize that this is a terrible job to be in, and we don't want this job. Yeah, so, things that he has done right. He has been credited with mobilizing the military ahead of the Russia full-scale invasion in February of 2022. The two clashed publicly in November over divergent descriptions of last year's stalled counteroffensive, and then reportedly disagreed Monday over the possibility of a new mass mobilization in Ukraine. Basically, right now, Ukraine and Russia, they're both super depleted on their ammunitions. They weren't ready for a full-scale, multi-year war, which this whole, like, all of these disarmament agreements have weakened a lot of world powers, U.S. To be one of them, England, or the UK, the European Union. Any of those countries have all signed this disarmament program. But you know who hasn't signed disarmament programs? Palestine, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran, any of these countries that just don't care about that carry a belief system that is just to destroy anyone that doesn't believe what you believe. And for that, um, if you disarm, if you like, even if you want to say, oh, we're responsibly disarming so that the world can be a safer place, is the world really a safer place, or is it just the fact that you're not going to be the one blowing it up? So, Universal Music Group is fighting back against TikTok. They've announced that they will no longer be licensing the music to social video platform TikTok. Now, I love, love, love the headlines here, because the headlines also are like, they're fighting them. They're giving them the business. They're, because it's TikTok, they want to. No, they are not fighting TikTok because it's TikTok. The news comes as TikTok and UMG, Universal Music Group, which UMG commands a third of the global music comes as TikTok, commands a third of the global music market, failed to reach new terms on music licensing agreements after their previous contract expired yesterday. So their contract just expired. This is just a contract dispute. This isn't like any kind of like, we're fighting against China. We don't want your Chinese crap here anymore or anything like that. We want you to give us, we want you to stop being communist or any, this isn't a moral high ground stand. This isn't we're standing for anything. This is just the fact that their contract is no longer valid. So basically, the concerns over the infringement and the safety issue, UMG claimed that TikTok, which accounts for roughly 1% of its revenue, um, presents a new deal worth less than the previous one and lower than fair market value. Which you would think, if TikTok, being as big as it is, would continue to be able to give them a higher revenue share, or would give them a revenue share based a higher revenue share based on the fact that they are they're as big, they're growing, and all of that stuff. So I can see where, like, as a businessman, as a business person, that if you're not getting, if you're getting a 1%, you it's just it's just business. So TikTok's approach to AI generated music. They also claiming that TikTok's approach to AI generated music would dilute royalties for human artists and songwriters. There's a letter that UMG wrote. Roughly 60% of TikTok's content features music, helping to drive discoverability and sometimes pushing songs to the top of the charts. Without a deal in place, TikTok will be forced to pull roughly 4 million songs. That's how many songs UMG carries from its platform, and users will no longer be able to use those songs. I mean, they carry people like Taylor Swift, Drake, Adele. I mean, it's just it's everybody. Like they carry a huge amount of content, and they carry the licensing for it. So basically, if we played music on here, we would have to carry the licensing. Now, the music we play in the intro and everything, I actually mixed, so I don't have to carry a licensing for it. I don't have to carry royalty. I don't get any royalties for it because we're the only ones that play it, and I haven't released it, but but beyond that, that's where we're at on it. So basically, it's not, they keep saying, oh, it's Universal versus TikTok. It's Universal Music Group is threatening to pull, or is pulling their is no longer licensed. It's just the fact that the contract is up. No big deal. They're gonna come back with contracts. So, couple things I saw. Let me get over here to another page I've got. I don't know if you've followed any of this. Fannie Willis is under fire a second time, or a third or fourth, again. Basically, Fannie Willis is the. Let's see. Make sure I get this right. She's the district attorney for the Georgia area. She's the prosecutor that has gone against former President Trump in Fulton County District. And now, I mean, this is the deal. This is the thing you've got to think about. If you're going to go against somebody that has means whether it's the fact that they have means, as in they have their own means, or they have a group like the Republican Party or something like that. If you're gonna levy some sort of fight against somebody, then you better be squared away, especially in this day and age where they're bringing back videos and things from years and years ago. So, but I don't know how you bring you you don't you spend your advertising or your campaign dollars on yourself, which there's plenty of laws against that. And then you go, "Oh, this guy, we hate this guy, blah blah blah. We're going to bring federal charges of RICO," which is the basically RICO charges are the act of the act of trying to commit a crime, and basically they put them in place so that the head bosses could get arrested. They were having troubles arresting mob bosses because they didn't have they didn't do the things themselves. So it was a conspiracy to commit a crime. And so, so you bring these RICO charges, which is a grade charge anyway, because it's like it's like if you knew, if someone said, "Oh, I think I'm going to commit bank robbery," and you knew about it, but obviously you didn't plan it with them or anything, then they could bring you up on an accessory charge. Well, this would be like they brought you up on RICO. You're now part of the conspiracy to commit a crime. So, I mean, this is not what they did with the mob bosses. The mob bosses were actually we're actually working on committing crimes and stuff like that. And I understand, we had to do something, but at the same time, so anyways, this Fannie Willis, which is a great name, Fannie Willis, is now in getting facing some heat on another possible scandal. Not just that she spent a lot of her campaign dollars on, herself, and that her husband or lovers, business associates paid for most of her campaign, and then she gave them very lucrative contracts afterwards, or got them very lucrative contracts afterwards. This is now that she is in trouble for she fired the whistleblower. So the person which honestly at this point, who cares? Fire the whistleblower, because you're going down for charges of most likely you're going down for campaign financing issues, which probably don't hold a ton of jail time, but at least hold a civil penalty, which would cost you some money and probably your position. But might as well have fired him. He didn't do you any good anyway. He probably wasn't even helping you. So yeah, it's just one of the. I mean, and you don't. I don't know that. Like, I don't watch a lot of CNN or anything, but I don't know that I've seen it on any of those higher up media situations going on. So, um, you know, so this was a good one. DC Attorney General says district cannot prosecute or arrest away its out of crime pandemic. It's way out of the crime pandemic. What? You can't prosecute and arrest your way out of a crime pandemic? You mean you can't hold people accountable enough to get to stop crime from happening? If you can't hold people accountable enough to stop crime from happening, what makes you think that you can create more laws and legislate yourself out of a crime pandemic? I mean, what what makes you think that then you can stop crime at all? You can't. There is always going to be people who want to create crimes, who want to commit crimes. And so, yeah, you know, but an epidemic or a pandemic of crimes, obviously if you actually, prosecuted the laws and you showed people that they shouldn't be committing crimes in your town, that it was, that they were going to pay a price. But DC is, they're if you had a gun crime, you're getting out. If you were on drugs, you're getting out. You're they I mean they're not hard on crime. They're not prosecuting their way out. They're not arresting people. It's not like they're it's not like Alabama where they had an execution or had a scheduled execution. I can't arrest or prosecute my way out of a crime wave. You just I can't arrest enough people to stop the crimes. Well, you're not going to arrest everybody, but you're going to deter crimes by having a strong, criminal justice system. If your criminal justice system is is hard on crime and those people know that they're going to be punished to the full letter of the law, then yeah, people are going to then step back. on this same on this same run, San Francisco Walgreens are locking up $1.99 packs of gum. Gavin Newsom claims that Target clerk blamed him for the California retail theft. So, but it is his fault because he said, "Oh, well, we're only going to go after the heaviest criminals." Well, retail theft isn't the heaviest crime. So if you tell people that you're not going to, prosecute them, or you're not going to, you know, make it a priority to arrest those people who commit crimes against your other people, like you're not protecting your citizens and you're not protecting your law abiding citizens. So why are the law abiding citizens wanting to continue to be law abiding? Because there's no protection. So you might as well make it, a martial law state and just allow looters and rioters to go out and see how things go. Just roll them dice. So so there was a couple others. The Baltimore Orioles are being sold to investor group led by Carlisle Group's co-founder David Rubenstein. The sale is going to be around $1.7 billion, which seems like a lot, but not. I guess at one point I had heard, and this was like 10, 15 years ago, that the Cubs were worth about 650 million. I would think now that they've got to be worth well over $1 billion after their World Series and that and the history that they have and stuff like that. I would say they got to be somewhere around maybe the $2 or $3 billion mark. But it is crazy to see like that to see how expensive a club is and how much they're going like I'm looking up right now the most expensive sports teams. So obviously the NFL has a high is expensive is has high expensive teams. Dallas is considered one of the most expensive teams at $9 billion. The Yankees at 7.1. The Warriors at 7 billion. The Patriots at 7.0 billion. So 7 billion. I like how this one. That's not even. Never mind. World's top 50 is there. We go. All right, here it is. Maybe, maybe not. So, nope, nope, nope. Okay. So the most valuable teams by league breakdown. You've got the NFL has by far the most valuable teams. And then you got NBA, MLB. Those three are the tops, and then you've got your English Premier League teams. You've got your La Liga teams, F1 racing, and then you've got the Bundesliga and League One from France. So I wish it would just give me the teams. All right, so top team on this is still Dallas, New York Yankees, Golden State, Patriots, and then the number 5 is Los Angeles Rams. Number 6 is the New York Giants at 6.8. The Chicago Bears is at 6.3. Las Vegas Raiders 6.2, which they just sold, so I'm not real surprised about that. Yeah. They actually, when they were purchased in 1966, were 188,000. Yeah. The New York Jets tied with the New York Knicks at 6.1. Real Madrid is the first soccer team, which is surprising to me that some of these soccer and football teams aren't a lot higher. Because you'd think like your Manchester United or Manchester City, Manchester United franchises, they have multiple teams around the world, like your Red Bulls and stuff like that. They have multiple teams around the world, and you would think that maybe that group would be maybe and maybe that's it is that they're just talking about franchises alone. Manchester United $6 billion. So yeah, San Francisco 49ers is 6 billion, Los Angeles Lakers 5.9. I bet that's down. Because obviously it's going up with inflation and stuff like that, but they haven't been winning championships and stuff like that. I'm sure it's okay because of LeBron James is there and that, but his luster, his shine seems to have kind of slid. I guess at late 30s, you've been in the league 20 million years, you're allowed to kind of slide. So, but so yeah, almost almost not on the list here, you know, your Baltimore Orioles. The sale is kind of cool because it is backed by Cal Ripken Jr., Grant Hill, former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. I mean, I thought he was supposed to, you know, he had, because he was a Democrat, he had signed a legally binding agreement to not profit off of things or to have money. I thought that's just what the Democrats did, is that they don't they give all their money to charity, and they get they're just so philanthropic. But you know um this is one. The Tennessee, Virginia, and Virginia Attorney Generals filed antitrust lawsuits against the NCAA over name, image, and likeness guidelines. They're basically stating that the into the name, image, likeness violations involving marketing. I guess this is part of the marketing firm Spire Sports Group. Um, but that the states are seeking to do away with the name, image, likeness guidelines adopted by the NCAA, that those guidelines have been modified since their initial induction. The suit alleges that the NCAA has violated antitrust laws by denying athletes their ability to earn full compensation for their names. So basically, they're saying that because they pool this name, image, likeness, and they're not getting their full name, image, likeness compensation. And so with that, the NCAA has violated antitrust laws, which I don't know that I understand how they've violated antitrust laws by not giving them their full compensation, seeing that they're supposed to be amateur players and not be getting compensation for their playing. Um, I mean, I understand that this isn't giving them compensation for how they play, but it's also giving them a sort of compensation for how they play, because you're not compensating a scrub off of, you're not compensating the punter from, Rice or, Appalachian State the same way you're compensating the Heisman Trophy winner, who, by the way, hasn't been doing so great. Bo Nix hasn't been doing so great in the Senior Bowl, from what I've been reading. So you're definitely not compensating everybody the same, and so I almost this is something I've wanted to talk about, and I want to talk with the group about it, really. But for now, because the group is not here, um, I'm always just going to talk about it a little bit. The name, image, likeness is killing college sports, and it's not for the reasons you think it is. It's for the reasons that I saw from the beginning. is that, for one, you have a ton of kids who are not playing in the bowl games. And that's fine. I understand. It's a business. And you've got millions and millions of dollars logged into this. And if you go into your bowl game and you pull a hamstring or blow a knee out, or I guess not the hamstring as much as blow a knee out, or just straight, I don't know, blow out an arm or an elbow or break your leg off or I don't know, something, and you no longer can play, then you've wasted, then you've just lost all of your potential ability. But in that same deal, should you not be able to get some sort of insurance policy? I mean, they give out insurance policies to all kinds of sports athlete. I mean, I remember when Scherzer from the Tigers was going into his last year of contracts, and he was getting ready to go into the free agency and make tons of money, and the Tigers offered him like $115 million for, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. It was a big contract back then. And offered him like all this money to sign the year before, and instead he doesn't. He takes out a insurance policy for, I don't know, 100, maybe it was 115 million, and that he wasn't going that if he blew his arm out or something like that, then he would, be able to collect on his insurance policy. And so, he didn't, and he signed a giant contract the next year, but you know, part of that is, and part of this, if I were a head coach of an NFL team, you're seeing the level of commitment here. They don't have, they don't have their draft pick sewn up. And maybe they're happy with where they're getting drafted. Maybe you got guys like that aren't going to hurt their draft abilities. Maybe they're going to go to the Senior Bowl. Maybe you're going to see them again, or you're going to see them at the combine. And that's going to that'll definitely help. That maybe that'll help them. But there's nothing like you know being the man at a bowl game. To boost you up, to make you look better, to help you get where you're going in the NFL. I mean, there's just, at the same point, people like Panics for Washington that didn't do as well in his bowl game. That didn't help him any. And at one point, I think he was a early first rounder, maybe. But I also don't know whether he was a early first rounder because, I had heard reports and stuff like that. But I don't know because of the injury issues he's had. And he's a little older. So I think the name, image, likeness, to get into the real bolts of it is, I mean, Ohio State, and not because I'm not an Ohio State fan, obviously. But Ohio State offered Harrison Jr. like all of this money, like almost enough money that he rethought going into the draft, into the first round this year. So I think I thought when they first talked about having the NIL, money coming in, that they were going to pool it, and it would be like if you were at a Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, a big school, you would get so much. And they would cap it off at a certain level, and everybody at that team would get that because the money, the argument of having that money was that kids were getting a meal voucher, a place to live, and a scholarship, but they didn't have any money for clothing and just, you know, you're traveling 8 or 6 or 5 or so many weeks throughout the season, and then if you go into bowls and stuff like that and you travel for, and so you didn't have the extra money to do things. And not that, it wasn't really that they didn't have the money to live off of. It was just that they didn't have the extra money, all for the weekend money, for the weekend, things for the year, for the time that they're not in school, for food and things of that nature. They didn't have all of the extra. And so I thought that this could be a good way to cover some of the costs of the things that they aren't allowed to cover at the school. Like they couldn't give you a car. Well, now you're making some money. You could have a car. Maybe it wasn't that you could have a Ferrari. Maybe it was that you would have to buy it. You'd be driving around in a Civic or something like that, or an older Mercedes, or something. But you know, not that they're giving you $1.1 million to play for a year. I mean, it is fairly ridiculous. And so, you know, really what they need to, and I thought, all right, so a big school gets this much. All of the extra money trickles down to the smaller schools, who can also pay some for their players. And so when they get in these games like NCAA football on EA Sports or whatever, which I'm super anticipating, which I'd love to play, um, then those guys are getting paid for their name and image and likeness. And so then they get some money for, eating out and things of that nature, maybe buying some tennis shoes to walk into the stadium with, or whatever, not that they're getting paid millions or even hundreds of thousands, but they're getting paid, you know, something so that they can spend some money around town. Nobody wants to just like, and I'm not oblivious to the fact that, there's always people that are giving you something for you being there, or that are giving you, free meals or free whatever. You're at the bar and your buddies are buying all the alcohol, or some alumni is paying for whatever, even though that's super illegal for the alumni to take care of players and stuff like that. But the name, image, likeness needs to be changed, because otherwise, right now, name, image, likeness money is not name, image, likeness money. It's recruiting bucks. That's what it is. It's recruiting dollars. It's how you get a kid to go from one school to another school. Hey, we're going to pay you $1 million and you can start. It used to be, we're going to give you a starting position. And that was enough. That, we're going to give you national attention because we're a bigger school. But now we're going to give you national attention and we can pay you X, Y, and Z. And I understand, like, the money you get for being national champion, or you get for being, in the playoff, or, the advertising, dollars that you can, generate, and things of that nature for being that school, the ability to recruit, more students, and expand your school out, and things of that nature. Um, I mean, it's hard to pass up. It's hard to look away from. And so I understand doing, that you want to do anything it takes. But this is the question I never hear on Sports Center, or any of those other talking head, channels, or shows, is, what are we teaching these young men or women, you know, that are coming out of college with millions and millions of dollars just right in their lap? I was told, that coming out of college, I could make, you know, upwards of $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year as a chef. And that was 20 years ago, without inflation and all of that. And, you know, obviously there were lawsuits involved, and things that came into play, that they were lying to us, knowing that we would come out of school, we would go into the trenches, we would peel a ton of potatoes, cook a ton of pasta, bag a lot of, portion out a lot of everything, and basically be prep cooks as we came out, and just be able to move faster through the kitchen stuff because we had some kind of training. But not that there was any, like, major, like, we're getting somewhere with it, or we're ahead of the curve, you know, we're gonna make 100,000 right now. I mean, they were charging us, luckily I got through a little earlier, and, as I was getting out, they were starting to charge kids anywhere from 50 to 75,000 for 2 years in culinary school, which you weren't gonna get to pay off for 10 years, or more, depending on, where you went, or how much you made, or, whether you got into, the higher class you went into, I mean, even if you go and you cook in, these fine dining restaurants, you're still, there's still a level that they can only charge so much over the cost of food. They can only charge so much over the cost of labor. And you're still running, $100 plate still costs $50 with the labor you charge for the person, things like that. You can only run so many covers, and you still got to keep the lights on a high value property. So, name, image, likeness. Back to that. With paying so much, the the rich are going to get richer, and the poor are going to get poorer. Unless you cut it off across the board, and you teach these kids that you're playing for, we're going to take care of you, but you're playing for the chance, the opportunity to play on Sundays in the NFL, the pride of that, and some of that kind of thing. That's what made college football great, is that they were playing for the opportunity. They were playing for the love of the game. They loved, there are a lot of players that don't make it to the NFL. You know, I would say 85% of the guys that you see on TV are not making it to the NFL. You can think about it this way. There were 60 odd, 70 odd people on the sideline for Michigan, and they're going to draft 16, 17 maybe, and then they have seniors that didn't get to play, or weren't, starters or weren't influential people on the field, and so they're going to graduate with their business degrees or their poli-sci degrees or whatever, and they're going to go on to do whatever they do. And so with that, they played for the love of the game. They loved the game. They played it. And this is, that bowl game is their Super Bowl. For that very, very small group, 256 kids are getting drafted each year. That's it. Out of the hundreds of thousands, I mean, if you've got 100 teams and you got 100 kids or 50 kids on each of those teams, do the math. 5,000 kids right there. That only 250 of them, 260, are going to go straight to the NFL. And those guys aren't guaranteed contracts. They may, the last few, not too many Brock Purdy's out there. So name, image, likeness really needs to be revamped to continue a more vital role in college football. Otherwise, it might as well be NCAA basketball, where you either play a year there or you leave. Or now I don't know, I don't remember the rules. If now you have to play 2 years and then you can go, or you just skip it all together. I mean, LeBron James, your some of your guys like that, just skip it all together. Kobe Bryant's, and just go straight to the NBA, and there's no reason to go to college. I mean, other than to actually get an education. And a lot of these kids that were in football or that are in sports, they're getting paid. They're getting an education. And yes, they're making those colleges a ton of money. And so, yes, they should be getting something. But just think about it a little bit. What really are we teaching them? So, the PGA Tour gets a $3 billion investment from a consortium led by Fenway Sports Group that would provide equity to nearly 200 tour players. It would give players access to more than $1.5 billion as equity owners in the new PGA Tour enterprise. The launching of the PGA Tour enterprise with SSG as a minority partner comes 8 months after the PGA Tour signed a framework agreement with the Saudi backers of Live Golf for a commercial venture. The ultimately led to private equity groups wanting to join. So basically, the PGA Tour was like the NCAA, or was like the NFL, where to join you had to be an owner of a club or and so now that the PGA Tour has effectively become a traded commodity, a publicly owned group, because now they have investors with Live Golf commercial, Live Golf tournament. Now they're, obviously they're grabbing money. And so the nice thing about, or the good-ish thing about strategic sports groups, or, your Fenway group, that it dilutes a little bit the power that Live has over the PGA Tour. So now that also dilutes Live's money. So now you've kind of got a laundering effect. They're kind of sport washing. I've heard them say they're sport washing. They're giving themselves a better reputation through buying sports teams and buying into different ventures like that, so that you don't see um their different issues with human rights. So, I mean, I don't know, if you guys have been educating yourselves or anything, or doing some free thinking, but I mean, look into their human rights reputation. They don't treat women well. Women don't have a vote there in Saudi Arabia, and they also don't get much education. They also are not, you know, not allowed to, play sports unless they go out of the country to, your countries that have professional leagues and stuff like that. And they also are not, they're not real, LGBT friendly. Um, so that is the one thing. If you're going to get in and get going on it, I mean, it is just not, it's just, you know, it's know who you're getting in bed with. Know what's really at stake here. I mean, what is really going on? So I applaud them for taking in more members and more people. It's helping. This is going to help give players more money, and more equity in the actual tour. So instead of the players fighting to get into the tour, um, or fighting to to stay in the tour, once they get into the tour, this will help them, have more ownership into it, and continue their ability to change things in the tour, the way that they would like to innovate, and can continue the tour on. Because the PGA Tour, I don't know if you know this, but a couple years ago, even with Live, before Live was fighting them to be the predominant golf tournament group, the PGA Tour was losing money, and it was losing ground because it didn't have relevancy. At one point, Tiger Woods was the face, and because of his, I'm gonna say this, ethnic ambiguity. That's it, ambiguity. That whether he was black or he was Asian, or what he was or is, because he's still alive, he's not dead. But anyway, because you could see him, and you could basically be, oh, we're Tiger Woods fans, and you could, you know I guess, just kind of, be part of that group. That there, it was cool to be part of the, PGA Tour. It was cool to go to these events and stuff, and now, there's a lot more um parity at the top. It's one thing when you've got the greatest of all time, or you've got one of the greats, and they're just slaying it, and you've got headline after headline after headline of how great they are. for one, you build a group that hates them for being the greatest, and they want to see him fall, and so they're hanging on every headline, waiting for the fall. And you've got those fans that just love the heck out of him and are following them to the moon and back. I mean, and just watching them try to win everything and just fawning and buying all of the whatevers. So probably a good thing for the PGA Tour to diversify their holdings, since you never know when the Saudi Arabian group just says, we're out of money, or we're not, um, we're not backing you because of your stance on blah blah blah. So let me take a quick look across here. Did you guys see the Kansas City Chiefs? They had a fan watch party where three of their friends at this watch party ended up dead, frozen in the backyard. Um, if you didn't see that, then that was kind of a weird description for you. But basically, one of the there was obviously watch parties everywhere and stuff like that. There's a group of guys got together, and all of a sudden, guy doesn't come home from it, and fiance starts worrying about him. Couple other family members start looking for him. Next morning they call the guy, they knock on his door, all of this good stuff, and then 2 days later, they call the police. They're trying to find these guys. I mean, it's not his wife. He's you know it's his fiance. So who knows? She may not maybe they don't live together. I don't know the full story on their status. But she breaks that into the house somehow, and finds a man dead on the back porch, and then the police come, find her fiance dead in the backyard, and another guy also. And the guy that owns the house has been out for 2 days. I mean, he's just so. I mean, it seems super like suspect. The family's saying that there's got to be, they saw something, and so they had to get rid of him, and so they killed him in the backyard or whatever, and the police are there, doctors and coroners and stuff like that are saying, it all looks like it's just that they froze in the backyard. That I don't, it was cold that day, and it sounds like there were drugs involved in the evening, and that unfortunately they left after the party and didn't go very far. Um, just a weird set of circumstances. Um, so study shows that the ancient humans migrated to North Europe as early as 45,000 years ago. So influx may mean that the Neanderthals may have been Neanderthals to extinction. So yeah. Researchers make key steps towards enabling the body to regrow heart valves, offering a potential alternative to invasive replacement surgeries. Approach relies on a biodegradable scaffolding that promotes cell growth. So, I mean, we've talked about pigs' hearts and pigs' kidneys, and they've been bioengineering pigs to not have the sugars. Um, they're not doing a real great job. I mean, people are living 6 and 7 weeks, 6 months maybe, 2 or 3 months. Cadavers was alive for a little bit, or a vegetative state. So I mean, if you could grow it in your body, that would be more natural, I guess. But yeah, science is great. Sea otters play a critical role in preventing erosion of coastal estuaries by preying on crabs, which otherwise consume vegetation and destabilize soil. Findings underscore a complete complex relationship with various ecosystems. I mean, did we not learn this in 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 5th grade or 4th grade science that that we live in an ecosystem, which is basically a big bubble where everything in that bubble affects something in that bubble, like any kind of animal. I mean, have we not learned that by in introducing coyotes into the wild, into areas where they are not supposed to be? Um, I mean, come on, we didn't know this like years ago that the otters were preventing coastal estuaries from eroding because of they prey on certain animals, and that animal they preys on the grass, and this grass, the lions eat the antelopes then become the grass, and then the lions die, and the antelopes eat the grass, and then the lions eat the antelopes. I mean, come on, it's the circle of life. It's the wheel of fortune. So, let me look around. Let's see if I've got anything else to cover, and then I've got a couple Florida men for you. And I like this one. Germany's former top neo-Nazi hunter now being monitored as extremist. Hans Georg Mason, who until 5 years ago was responsible for protecting Germany against violent and extremist threats to its democracy, is himself now being monitored by security agencies he ran after becoming a hero to the right for his commentary about the dangers of mass immigration to Germany, which anyone should be watching the mass immigration to Germany. I mean, Germany has almost become an Islamic state because of it. And it was funny because when I was in Germany visiting for Christmas time, they were having Muslim and Islamic or Muslim protests against, they had Jesus on a cross, and they were burning our, stuff across, and they just like, they were having protests. But what people don't know is, you've got hundreds of thousands of Muslims moving into Germany because Germany needs a workforce, because Germany went woke years and years ago and started to implement these anti-population legislations and stuff, and now they are a declining population. And as a country, as a civilization, dynasty, or whatever you want to call it, when your population starts declining, then you either have to boost your population somehow to get your workforce, because the as the population is declining, you still have that older generation that's still consuming whatever. Even though you've got less young ones, You still have the older ones going through that are consuming and that are at a rate leaving the workforce. So, yeah, people should freaking be watching because you know, there are a lot of Muslims and of that nature just migrating in. So, all right. Well, let's go on to the odd news and the Florida mans. So, let me move this around here a little bit. Slide this. Fire up the atomic turbines. And so there was a New Orleans man, was a thief. He stole 7 king cakes from a bakery. So he broke into this bakery, grabbed a handful of cash out of the register, a case of vodka, and 7 king cakes. Like the whole cake. Like these were big cakes. They weren't like, but I mean the company's been great because they've used it as an advertising ploy. Our cakes are just that good. Come and get one from yourself while we're open, obviously. Type deal. And so it's been funny that way. But I mean the guy was opportunistic. He's like, "Look, there's a case of vodka," which they spritz on a lot of the pastries and things of that nature. So I'm sure that's why they had a case of vodka sitting around. And then I guess somebody posted on theirs that they were the ones they were holding the 7 babies hostage because they put the babies in the king cakes, which has always been weird to me. Like, why are we baking babies into a king cake? But whatever. So yeah, 7 king cakes, 7 babies, all been stolen. Circus went up in flames. Camels and zebras, flames, oh my. Oh, there was, I think we talked about this a couple days ago, maybe last week. YouTuber accused of topping 150 miles an hour. I think we talked about that one. If we didn't, look it up. All right. So let's look here. There's a zoo monkey captured after 5 days loose in Scotland. The reason he was gone for 5 days is he looked like the regular Scottish people. All right. Well, I'm not really seeing a ton off of that one. So, Florida man, it is. So I'm on this site, and the top 5 Florida mans. Number 1 is a Florida man threatens a man. Florida man threatens man with axe, steals and crashes his car, and then is found naked hiding in a chicken coop. Why did he not have any clothes on anymore? That's the only question I have for it. Is why did he not have any clothes on anymore? The other ones involve naked Florida man's driving. A Florida woman who stole from Walmart plans to apply for a job at Walmart. I mean, you like the stuff, obviously. Might as well let Walmart steal from you. Florida man robs a pizza delivery man. Florida man robs a bank, covers himself in feces trying to escape custody. Like, they don't understand they got gloves on? I mean, come on, man. Florida man arrested for pooping on a possum in public. Now, I want to know, was he arrested for public indecency, or there is some weird law about possums? So it says the police actually witnessed the 45-year-old while he was doing his business on a dead marsupial. The report also states that he did this during rush hour traffic in plain sight for everyone to see. After being detained and read his rights, he denied ever pooping on a dead possum. He even told the cops that he doesn't see straight. So, because, like, oh, I thought the possum was way over there. I was just going to poop next to a possum. The officer was forced to do some real investigation work to be sure his vision was correct. He went to and observed the dead creature for himself. It then jumped up and ran away because it was just playing possum. Basically, he's being charged for a misdemeanor of exposure of sexual organs and is booked in jail on a $150 bond. I mean, I'm pretty sure this guy's got to be a flight risk or something. So, I don't know. But, so I did see one last thing, and I forgot this one as I was looking. So there's a commercial out right now. And this will be the final finish. The final countdown. But I was looking, and I wasn't even looking. I just happened to see a commercial on the other day. I think my wife was watching Project Runway or something, old reruns or something like that. And Instagram came out with a commercial saying that they are advocating with Congress to create because of their responsibility to minors under 16, that they're advocating to Congress on behalf of kids or youth, and that anyone under 16 should have to have parental consent to download apps of any kind. That they should know what apps their kids are engaging in, which then brought up the conversation with my wife, and I think even she brought this up, that how is Instagram going to advocate for parental rights on apps that you can download, but then advocate also for the child's right to mutilate themselves with a transgender treatment without parental consent? Yeah. We're feeling pretty responsible at helping our young kids, because We want them to feel safe in their environment. Yet something that's going to change their life forever, you parents, get out of the way. Think about this a little bit. Because we just had an amendment protecting trans kids from their parents into our Constitution in Ohio. Yet we're going to say kids can change their sex. They can change their bodies. They can have these hormones and surgeries and all of this that are not reversible. Not a vasectomy. That's not a snip and a snap, and we can snip and snap it back together, or we can do whatever. We can't. We turn it inside out and we turn it back out. It's not a t-shirt. But let's be responsible for our youth and make sure that that their parents know what they're downloading on their phones. Yep. I think that's what I learned today. Remember, 5 and 1-star reviews get you in the drawing for a t-shirt. At the moment, we're kind of lax on our 5 and 1-star reviews. So, if you're the only one in the drawing for the t-shirt, obviously, you're getting a t-shirt. So get on there and give us a 5-star review if you love us. We appreciate it. If you really hate us, on the way out, give us a 1-star review. That works too. But make sure that it's funny and that we at least get a laugh as you go. So, get us a review. The ways you can support us for free is to share the podcast wherever you have podcasting. Share it on your social medias. Invite. There's a new invite button on Facebook in that, and you can invite all your friends. That would help us out. And as we build this thing, we'll have to ask for money less because we'll have more advertising dollars coming in. But at this point, it's a few pennies, few cents every time you download and listen, and we're so glad you do. But yeah. Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.